Hello and welcome to the webinar. My name is Katie and today we'll be looking at how Lexia PowerUp can support your students in preparing for their GCSE exams. The webinar will last about 20 minutes. If you hover your mouse over the bottom of your screen, you will see a chat function. If you have any ideas or comments, please feel free to type them into the chat. If you have any questions, please send them in via the Q&A box. My colleague will be on hand throughout the webinar to respond to your questions and comments you may have. We'll go into the PowerUp programme in a moment. For those who would like to see the full scope of PowerUp, our scope and sequence document provides further details of the activities within the 3 strands of word study, grammar and comprehension, and can be accessed at myLexia.com by clicking onto the Resources tab, choosing the PowerUp Resources Hub and then Guides and Manuals. Moving on to session objectives now. Today we will explore the ways PowerUp supports many of the GCSE reading and writing objectives within the online programme. We'll also take a look at the reports data and the paper-based resources available to further support students in the classroom. We'll go straight into a software demonstration now, and we'll see how PowerUp teaches students how to identify explicit and implicit information within the text and how to select evidence from a text. We'll also see how PowerUp teaches students how writers use language and structure to achieve effects and how to use relevant subject terminology. We'll also look at comparing and contrasting texts, evaluating texts critically and organising information and ideas. Finally, we will see how PowerUp teaches students accurate spelling and punctuation. Within the foundational levels of the PowerUp comprehension strand, students actively build their knowledge as they work through the activities.
Now, answer 6 questions. Remember to use the text to check your answers and the listen mode if you want to hear the text. Use the title and picture on page 1 to help you answer this question. The subject of the text is... The main idea on pages 3 and 4 is Glenn Cunningham.
Students answer questions, asking them to pick out key details and ideas explored in the text, as well as introducing them to structural features such as the main idea of a text.
A detail on page 3 in the text is Glenn.
This ability to pick out details is scaffolded by referring students to the part of the text where they can find the answer. Students explore key words and vocabulary and identify both key ideas and details from the texts as they start building their comprehension skills. This activity appears within the intermediate zone.
Now apply what you've learnt to text 2.
Here, students will develop their understanding of figurative language and explore the ways the writer uses language to make the poem more powerful.
Now you'll read the poem Fireflies by Anara Kane. Then you'll be asked to think about how the author uses figurative language. Before you read the second poem, preview the text by selecting the bold blue words to hear their definitions. In this text, there are 2 clickable words.
First, they click onto the keywords highlighted in blue to hear definitions of those words.
Delight. Delight is great pleasure or joy. Now that you've read the poem, check your understanding of the key ideas and details. This poem tells a story of events in a person's life.
After this, they are able to apply their knowledge of figurative language by exploring examples of this through the questions.
A poet may say that one thing is something else to help you form an image in your mind.
Notice how verbal instruction features throughout promote a deeper understanding.
The fireflies look like stars to the small child because the flashing lights seem far away and out of reach.
This is the second poem that students analyse with a focus on figurative language. This helps students to start drawing comparisons between poems just as they do on the literature exams. In this activity, students identify implicit information, making inferences from the text.
The next few questions will ask you to make inferences about the drama. Take a hint, please. Here's a graphic organiser that can help you make inferences about the text.
The graphic organizer supports students as they build their understanding of how to make inferences and work through the questions.
The author gives some information directly in the text. However, when you make an inference, you are not only using what the text says, but also what you already know about the topic.
It also provides them with a formula of how to successfully make inferences that they can use during exams.
In this example, the graphic organizer was completed for you. The next few questions will ask you to complete one on your own. Now, try making another inference based on the evidence from the text and your background knowledge. Again, use evidence from the text and your background knowledge to make a new inference.
After the students have made inferences guided by the program, they go on to link their inferences and analyse the deeper meaning of the text.
Connect all the inferences you've made to gain a deeper understanding of how Bartholomew is feeling.
PowerUp also teaches students how writers use language and structure to achieve effects, explicitly looking at tone and mood as we can see here.
The last few questions focused on key ideas and details. Now think about the tone and mood. Remember, words can describe positive or negative feelings. Sort these words as positive or negative.
In this example, which appears in the intermediate zone of the comprehension strand, students categorise a range of positive and negative words before answering questions about tone and mood of the poem.
It might make you ask yourself, how did the rose grow without soil and learn to walk? Now, think about the tone again. Remember, the tone can change from section to section.
In this activity, which appears in the intermediate zone, students learn how to compare and contrast.
This compare and contrast graphic organizer helps you see and keep track of the information you found and better understand what you're reading.
They begin by exploring key terms and creating vocabulary cards, which help students as they move through the lesson.
An author might use transition words to link ideas. Words such as like, both, similar, just as, similarly, and in the same way are used to make comparisons. Words such as unlike, but, though, different, however, and on the other hand can show the author's use of contrast. Read the sentences and use the transition words to help you decide if things are being compared or contrasted.
PowerUp also teaches students how to use transition words through explicit drill and practice before they apply what they have learned to the text. Referencing transition words helps to reinforce students' word-level analysis, knowledge of terminology, and their writing skills. Within the advanced zone, students compare and contrast the two texts they have explored, just like they will do in their GCSEs.
Now that you've deepened your understanding of both sources, it's time to compare them. Look back at the sources and choose the characters that best complete each sentence.
In this example, students identify key differences, such as who the narrator is, before analysing the text in more depth.
Comparing and contrasting details between two sources sets the stage for deeper analysis.
The programme also provides the student with model answers, demonstrating how to analyse language closely, as well as comparing texts. Students also look at word choice, as well as the tone and mood of the different texts and cause and effect.
Find the highlighted descriptions of the skunk spraying in A Dog's Purpose and the skunk spraying in Hatchet. Then, categorise the author's word choices in the two sources.
In this activity, which appears in the advanced zone of the comprehension strand, the video provides students with background knowledge on the author, which helps to deepen analysis of the author's motives and provides students with context for the text, another skill necessary for exam success.
Bradbury defined his image of the future by writing science fiction. Science fiction writers help us imagine the impact of new technologies on human life.
Students are then introduced to new techniques, which teach them what to look for when analysing a text. The programme also takes students through identifying the author's language techniques and their effect on the reader.
Talk about depressing. Rain for 7 years. Yeah, that is absolutely dreary and miserable. These children can't remember a time when it wasn't raining. How depressing. Only one child, Margot, can remember ever seeing the sun.
As students progress, they move from a word-level analysis to paragraph-level analysis, focusing on structure. Students then have to retrieve evidence for their answer by highlighting the text, just as they would in an exam.
Since the sun only comes out once every 7 years, these children were too young to remember it.
Then, it asks them to draw comparisons from several parts of the text, leading them to text-level analysis of structure.
In order to help you imagine what a character is really like, authors often use similes and metaphors.
The programme then takes the students through identifying the author's language techniques, for example metaphors, and their effect on the reader.
When the author says, "She was an old photograph, dusted from an album, whitened away," he is comparing Margot to an old photograph without using the words like or as. That's a metaphor. You may also have noticed another comparison that the author made when he said, "She was a very frail girl who looked as if she had been lost in the rain for years." Definition that goes with the picture.
Students also learn about the ways writers use language and structure. In this example, students explore persuasive techniques, creating vocabulary cards to build their understanding of key terminology before exploring the text in detail.
Repetition is the repeated use of words or ideas to make a point. Now that you've identified the speaker, consider what her purpose is.
Here, they identify the narrator, the speaker's purpose, and the persuasive techniques used.
The main idea relates to the speaker's purpose.
Within the grammar strand, students improve their written composition and reading comprehension by focusing on how written language works. Activities vary and focus on parts of speech, parts of sentences, capitalization, punctuation, and text structure. Each level of the grammar strand teaches students how to organize information found in a text. This is an example from the foundational zone, where students analyse the structure of the text, identifying key information and placing it in the appropriate part of the graphic organiser.
See beautiful lake. Eat fresh food cooked just right. This goes with
At the top of the grammar strand, students engage with increasingly more complex texts and work at a Key Stage 3 level. In this example, students are analysing the structure of a narrative text, further deepening their understanding of how to organise information and ideas effectively. PowerUp also includes drama, poetry and informational texts, providing students with opportunities to explore a wide range of texts. This activity, which appears in the advanced zone and again teaches those Key Stage 3 skills, focuses on identifying run-on sentences through explicit drill and practice. You can see how these activities translate directly into students' writing.
This is a run-on. A long sentence could be a run-on sentence. A relative clause beginning with who or whose may be needed to connect the ideas.
Within the word study strand of the programme, students develop accuracy, automaticity and fluency in reading by focusing on the reliable and recurring patterns in spoken and written words. In this example, students are learning spelling patterns, focusing on vowel teams. As they progress through the units, students type the words independently, which further reinforces accurate spelling.
Listen to the word and look at the model. Type the whole word in the blank, hungrily.
PowerUp also teaches students further strategies for spelling new words, as we can see here in Level 7.
Hungrily, luckier. Luckier, relaying,
In Level 5, students learn and practice their sight words.
woman, something,
In this activity, students reinforce previous learning as they type the word they hear. You can see how this also supports accurate spelling. We'll go to myLexia.com now, and we'll look at how you can use the reports and resources to help your class and how you can support individual pupils. We'll also look at the range of resources available and how you can implement home use to create additional opportunities for pupils to progress. Students who are struggling will be included under the Struggling tab. For these students, Lexia provides fully scripted, fully resourced Lexia lessons for every activity. You can use these lessons to provide the support needed to students so that they can address those areas of need and continue to progress through the programme. You can access these lessons from the Student Overview or from the Struggling tab. Each lesson is fully scripted with adaptations so you can differentiate for students who need more support or who are ready to move on. Resources are included below the lesson, along with the anchor charts which summarise key information the student needs. Before you deliver a lesson, you may want to look at a student skills report. To do this, click onto their name and then choose Skills Report. From here, you can see the activities students are working through, their accuracy and the rate at which they are progressing. If their accuracy is low and the rate is slow, then the programme highlights this to let you know the student is progressing at a slower rate and making mistakes and may need support. Clicking onto the activity will take you to their detailed skills report, so you can see how many times they have worked in the standard and direction steps within the online programme. Skill builders appear for students who have mastered skills online and provide them with the opportunity to consolidate skills they have learned online in a paper and pencil context. They are available under the Skill Builders tab from the class overview or from the student's individual overview. You can access further resources by clicking onto the Resources tab and then selecting the PowerUp Resources Hub. Here you will find all of the Lexia lessons and skill builders. Anchor charts summarise key skills taught online. You may wish to use these as part of your teaching or display them in your classroom. We're coming to the end of today's webinar now, and we've looked at how Lexia PowerUp can support your students in becoming ready for their GCSE exams, as well as how you can use the reports and resources available to support learning. If you need any further support, please don't hesitate to contact us, either by emailing customercare@lexiauk.co.uk or calling us on 0191 482 1939 and choosing option 3. Thank you very much for your time today, and goodbye from me.